According to Brian Windhorst, the Miami Heat may not just be waiting for Giannis Antetokounmpo, they also could be building a runway for him. Reportedly, Miami could be looking to bring in Khris Middleton to Miami in a precursor move to bringing Giannis Antetokounmpo to this team. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, the Oklahoma City Thunder reportedly are not planning on moving any parts of their core, which I think is the right thing, not to overreact to the Game 7 loss to the San Antonio Spurs. And the Hawks have a dilemma there at number 8. We're going to talk about the players that they could be looking to draft at number 8. And lastly, what's the best trade packages rumored for Ja Morant? We're going to look at all these things plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything NBA and basketball related. My name is Haize. More importantly, though, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. Before we get into the content, though, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Almost 60% of you guys who watch us every single day are not subscribed to the channel yet. I know we post every day. We're in the algorithm. It can be very easily to feel like you're subscribed to the channel because you see our videos so often, but hit that. We have now halfway officially to our goal of 10,000 subscribers by the start of the 2026-27 season. We passed 5,000 subscriber mark yesterday, which is really good. Got 5,000 more to get there. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. With that said, in exchange for that, I'll be giving you guys some of the best daily NBA content around, where we'll be covering all the latest rumors, news, everything going on around the NBA. So let's jump into it for today. The first one, and I know that a lot of people are kind of tired of the Giannis saga, and I agree with you on that one, right? I'm not gonna gas it at all. I am really tired of this whole thing, mainly because what I just want to hear is that the Milwaukee Bucks are basically shopping Giannis Antetokounmpo. Officially, they're looking to move it, and maybe we don't get that, right? There's been some speculation. Stephen A. Smith, talked about maybe Giannis is even traded during the NBA Finals, which I don't know if that can officially happen. Well, the draft wouldn't even be going. I don't know, right? But so we got some speculation in that, and we keep getting these things that the Miami Heat may be the most likely destination for Giannis. I don't know how much I believe that. I will say I lean probably more on the side of it that I do believe it than not. But at the end of the day, I think the Miami Heat are the team because of the 3 first-round picks, the 2 first-round pick swaps that they can offer, on top of the young talent that they do have there. It could be a nice base for the Milwaukee Bucks to start off with. But it seems like the Miami Heat are going to take a more straightforward approach in regards to this, and they may be setting a runway. According to Brian Windhorst, the Miami Heat are quietly targeting Khris Middleton. Has a real chance for them to recruit Khris Middleton to come to the Miami Heat to set that. Now, this is right now a rumor, right, when it comes down to it, but let's talk about it. For those that are new to the channel, what we like to do here is we talk about both sides of every argument that we talk about. With me being a solo host, I feel like it keeps me honest to talk about all sides of everything, so like I said, it keeps us honest. It keeps us from just talking about just one aspect of things, right? But this one comes from Ethan Sholnick, who is a heavy reporter covering the Miami Heat. He says this: I'll just say this. I think there's at least a lot of guys who will slip to the minimum. I think one guy, for instance, I think you can just guarantee Khris Middleton is going to be here in Miami because he covers the Miami Heat. He is the exact type of player the Heat add towards the end of their career. Now, we can talk about Khris Middleton as a player for what it's worth, right? Khris Middleton is a guy that I look at and I say, he's definitely not the player that he once was. On either side of the ball, it's just the reality. We saw the decline of Khris Middleton over the last few years, even in Milwaukee, before he was moved on from that team. And that's just the reality of it. He got to that age. It happens. It is what it is. No knock or no shots necessary, meaning towards Khris Middleton. But at the end of the day, Khris just isn't the player that he once was. That's just the reality of it. And, but would the Miami Heat add a Khris Middleton now at where he is in his career? Let's look at what Khris Middleton did last season, right? And then we'll talk about both sides of the argument. 10 points per game last year, which is right in line with basically what he's done since the 2024-25 season. He's been right around there. The last time he averaged above 10 points per game was his last full season in Milwaukee before the trade to Washington. But basically since then, he's been about that. He scored 15 points per game in 2023-24, but he's been off since then. His field goal shooting percentage has also dropped since he shot at 47% in 2024-25, all the way to 42% last year, maintained around a 36% three-point shooting percentage over that time. So it's not like Khris Middleton, as a veteran role player, still doesn't have something to offer, but you're talking about a player who's now been in the league for 14 years he's going on being in the NBA. So, yes, there's going to be some natural fall off there. That relationship between him and Giannis could be what the Miami Heat are hoping to leverage here, right? So why is this a Giannis move? Because, listen, we know, the relationship between Khris Middleton, he has championship history at Giannis. He played so much of his career with Giannis Antetokounmpo, but also Pat Riley has valued proven veterans who can still continue the Miami Heat culture, and maybe he's looking at it like that. If Giannis Antetokounmpo has any real interest in Miami, adding Middleton could be part of the decision to help that feel like a more natural kind of transition there. We already know he's been in Milwaukee his whole entire career, so that's that. They don't need to add Khris Middleton to be prime Khris Middleton, and that's another benefit of this. They don't need to look at him to be anything more than what he's already been. They just need him to be a respected bridge piece that can help forge that relationship, right? Is this being overhyped a little bit? I'll say this. Middleton is in a stage of his career where his impact, him being an impactful NBA player, that's more behind him than it is in front of him. It's the reality to do it. And I think Giannis being moved is not going to come down to if Khris Middleton is in Miami or not. It's going to come down to if Giannis feels like Miami gives him the shot to win at the level that he wants to win at this time of his career. And that's it. If Khris Middleton's available at the minimum, it's neither here nor there really in the grand scheme of things. And contenders could look to add him when it comes down to it. But I think this, when you look at it, the Miami Heat have been attached to Dame Lillard. They've been attached to other names, and they have not pulled the trigger on that because they haven't been willing to move off. With the Dame Lillard thing, they didn't want to give up Jaime Jaquez, which stopped them from getting Dame. Now you look at it and say, have they learned from that mistake? And then are they already looking at, well, we're going to have to restock this roster with some key veterans, and we might as well bring somebody in that Giannis is familiar with. And it is. This feels less like Miami saying to me, Middleton changes everything as far as Giannis coming to Miami or not. And it just, gives a small advantage in a player that you can get at the minimum who can still be semi-productive for what the contract value is. And that's the way that I look at it. But that gets us to the next point, right? Brian Windhorst talked about Giannis to Miami and the fact that there is real smoke there building up with that. And here's the thing. I'll say that, yes, I do believe that because it's basically what everybody's saying. Brian Windhorst said Giannis has a seat at the table, whether or not they want to admit it or not. That's something that was said from him. Miami's been called the team to watch on the get up and stuff like that. Here's the thing. Because of where Milwaukee's at, right? And we've heard that they value young talent and future and first round picks, quality first round picks. Unless Houston, Minnesota, maybe, right? Or OKC really gets involved in that, I think that Miami probably is going to have the most to offer. The Golden State Warriors, with having the picks that they have, could very well pivot and get into that, right? With them having, pick number 12, if I'm not mistaken, and they could value that pick maybe more than 2 picks from Miami, especially if they get Giannis, right? So you have that part that you can look at it with. Future first from Golden State, how you view that is how you view that. So maybe if they want to get involved, but it really comes down to if Minnesota or Houston really want to get involved in that. And, outside, even though we heard that it's probably not going to happen, the Boston Celtics, and they put Jaylen Brown on the table, it's probably Miami's probably going to have the best offer. And that's just, looking at the tea leaves, that's probably the most likely scenario here. So if this is going to happen, just get it over and fucking done with. Let's just be clear. Let's just get it over and done with, right? So calling Miami Heat the team to watch, it makes sense. You go to a winning culture. You have a winning coach. You have a GM that's going to do whatever it takes once he gets that star piece to continue building that team. So I'd say this, it's probably Miami for 50%, the rest of the field 50%, right? So it's not 50-50 with another team. Miami Heat probably have 50% of that, and it is. But the Heat trade package, just talk about the other side of it, still may not be enough when it comes down to it. Other teams have cleaner offers that they can. The Knicks, if they want to, which they're now in the finals, they may not. The Celtics, which we talked about. The Wolves, the Warriors, maybe the Lakers, but then again, I don't think the Lakers necessarily have the young talent or necessarily the future picks either. So it really comes down to what? And I think Giannis, if he's smart, would probably want to stay in the Eastern Conference so he can have his run to get there. And so we'll see what's going to happen in regards to it. But let me know what you guys think down below. Miami, are they stacking the deck to try to get Giannis there? Or do you think this is going to be something that could potentially blow up in their face and not turn out the way that they want it to turn out? Let me know what you guys think on all of that down below. With that said, moving into the next segment. The Oklahoma City Thunder have reportedly signaled that they are not going to move off any of their core this offseason, You may remember that after the Game 7 loss against the Spurs, a lot of people talked about that they could, do something else, whatever it is. According to Brian Windhorst, he says this. The message the Oklahoma City Thunder is sending out is that they're not touching that core. You can choose not to believe them if you want. They say they're running it back. And I think that's probably, you didn't have Jay. It'd be different if you got the floor mopped with you and Jalen Williams was healthy. The Thunder have it's a legitimate reason. Jalen Williams, their second best player, was not available in that series for the most part, right? So I get it that Chet, and seeing Chet play the way that he played was a little concerning, but you don't want to make an overreaction to one series yet, right? So here's the thing. Let's talk about both sides of this. Should they run it back? And I think the thing is that Shai is still one of the best players in the league. Jalen Williams is still a very high-level player, and if you get him healthy, there's there. And Chet just signed his major extension, and while, yes, the Spurs matchup does not look like a great matchup for Chet, it's one series. He still is very young. He still has room for development and growth. And a one tough series against Wemby and the Spurs should not force them into a panic trade with their core. They have depth, they have picks, they have flexibility. That's without touching their core. All the draft picks that they have, all the contracts in Lou Dort, Cason Wallace if they decide to move him, Aaron Wiggins if they decide to move that, right? Isaiah Hartenstein, there's there. Sam Presti has built this team patiently. There's no need to abandon the patience now, right? But let's talk about the side of this to make a bigger swing. I do think that the Spurs matchup is proven to be a problem for them. In the regular season and in the postseason, it was a problem. And with Wemby and the ascension of the Spurs, it is a new obstacle there. And OKC has to be honest about themselves. They feel like they can measure up as the years goes on, right? So whether it's not about necessarily making a trade for Giannis or anything, I love the thought of the Thunder using 12 and 17 to move up in this draft. And that's really what they have to do in regards to that. So I think the Thunder have enough picks. They have enough young players. They can chase a star without touching their core, and that is what makes them so dangerous in regards to it. Running it back is not a weakness, but refusing to ask the hard questions, that would be. And I think Sam Presti is going to ask those tough questions, but he's not going to make a panic move, and he doesn't need to yet. So with that said, I want to get into the last segment for today. I want to play Facts or Cap, right? Ja Morant is one of the players who's rumored to be on the move this offseason. And I think when you look at the reality of what's happened there, it all makes sense, right? And so there have been a number of teams that have been mentioned as trade destinations for Ja Morant. And we're going to play Facts or Cap with those guys. We're going to talk about the fact, what could make it a fact. We're going to talk about the cap of it. Number one, the Sacramento Kings have been mentioned, right? The Kings need a point guard, and they need a new centerpiece. Now, I personally think that with departure of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan coming up, you have Keegan there, you have your own first-round pick this year, at number 7. There's no need for the Sacramento Kings to try to go in for a veteran necessarily. But if you get that veteran, hey, you can flip them later. They can help be a center. You still have Domantas Sabonis there for now as well. And I do think the Kings have a history of getting moves like that done for players that are, on the outskirt. They did it with Zach LaVine, for example. They did it in the sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan. So, there's a chance that can get done. So the side of that could be facts, could be that. The cap part of it is Sacramento should probably be focused on building through the draft, building more organically. I think as much as Domantas Sabonis is a really good player in the right situation, I think they should be looking to trade him to stack even more draft capital, and you just build organically for 3-4 years through the draft. And I think you're better off getting that done. So my feel on it, as far as my verdict, is the Sacramento Kings, it should be cap. It could end up being facts because the Kings are just an impatient organization, but it should be cap on that, and the Kings should just play it patiently. Next up, my Chicago Bulls. Reportedly, the Chicago Bulls could be in a trade for the Memphis Grizzlies where they take back Ja, they send out Patrick Williams, the teams flip the 4th and 3rd overall pick. And I think this, right? Like the Chicago Bulls are a team that right now does not need the headache of Ja Morant. And even if Ja is going to be in a position to turn his career back around and get back on track, I think he needs to go to a winning situation. And unfortunately, the Chicago Bulls are far from a winning situation. We have our own turmoil, much less the Ja Morant trying to figure out his career here, right? And so I do think this, rebuilding takes risk. And I think that the Chicago Bulls are going to take calculated risk in moving up one spot to take on, 2 remaining years of Ja Morant. I just don't see it. The only way that the Bulls do this to me is if they view the real prize at number 3, and if moving up one spot, they feel like helps their direction change that much more. And I just don't know if they do if they're choosing between Caleb Wilson and Cam Boozer. But if Darren Peterson falls to 3, maybe. Minnesota Timberwolves here, right? When you look at this, Anthony Edwards needs another creator. Ja Morant would potentially do that. He can give the Minnesota Timberwolves a player that gets downhill. They currently lack that as well. Also somebody in Anthony Edwards off minutes that can still organize the offense, right? And I think that while Julius Randle has been their second best on-ball creator, you saw this year in the playoffs, how that can go wrong. You saw in last year's playoffs, though, how Julius Randle had maybe his best stretch of basketball. So right now, I think with Minnesota trying to win, Ja brings a risk to that. But sometimes the risk is worth the reward. And that's what you have to ask here, right? This is one of the most fascinating basketball fits for Ja Morant is the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it's also one of the scariest risk profiles. It'd be interesting to see after not making the Western Conference Finals this year, Anthony Edwards reportedly talking about how much he wants this franchise to upgrade the roster, if they would be willing to make a move for Ja Morant. Now, I think this would have to come after Giannis's move, maybe even after Kawhi's moved, if he's even moved, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves could pivot more towards Ja Morant, and we got to see what's going to happen there. The Miami Heat, they're interesting here because the Miami Heat, again, because they believe so much in their culture, I can see the Miami Heat and Pat Riley believing that this is the place that Ja Morant could turn his career around, right? You move Tyler Hero in the Ja Morant deal if you don't have to move him in the Giannis Antetokounmpo deal, and he would give the Miami Heat that point guard that can put half-court pressure, rim pressure, half-court creation, all that type of stuff. The Miami Heat do have a spacing issue there, and that would get even more kind of exaggerated with Ja Morant being there. And so it's a question with that. I think that Ja Morant is going to be plan B, not plan A for the Miami Heat. And we just talked about what plan A is probably going to be, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. So on this one, I'll say facts, but I say facts only if they strike out on their top target, and that's Giannis, which they then may pivot towards Kawhi if Kawhi is made available. And then the last team on this list, the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns need a point guard, an actual point guard. And reportedly, one of the rumored deals here is Ja Morant for Jalen Green straight up. And it would give the Memphis Grizzlies a younger player that they can look at, try to reclaim. They can move off the contract if they need to. It gives the Phoenix Suns the Ja Morant contract, which makes sense, right? And the Phoenix Suns they just got out of some roster volatility with moving off from Kevin Durant. But at the end of this, right, does the Phoenix Suns have the defensive structure for Ja to succeed? And that's the question when it comes down here. This would be a ultimate all-in gamble for the Phoenix Suns, but they've talked about they want Devin Booker to bring a championship to Phoenix. And therefore, to get that done, they may be very aggressive to get that done. Ja Morant is probably maybe an expensive problem, but he could be one that they're willing to take on because we've already seen the Phoenix Suns are all for throwing caution to the wind. So, that would have to come, I think, through the Memphis Grizzlies just at that point, just saying, listen, let's just get Ja out of here. We get another young piece in. We just figure we're going to continue building, continue doing what we can with our draft picks, and that's what we're going to do. We have tons of draft picks after moving on from Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., so we don't need to reclaim a lot of picks for Ja Morant, and you could get that done there. But let me know what you guys think on that list of rumored teams for Ja Morant. Which one do you think makes the most sense for Ja and for the Memphis Grizzlies to partner with? Let me know that down below. Other than that, let me know your thoughts on all the topics on today's episode. Think the OKC Thunder are right for running it back? Giannis to Miami is a foregone conclusion. Where does Ja land? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.